Both Hashirama and Yoriichi are two incredibly powerful and influential people within their series. Despite having passed away long ago, their influence is still felt across the entire series, with people constantly being compared to them and how inferior they are to them. Now, when it comes to an actual fight, I don't think that anyone's doubting that Hashirama is going to absolutely destroy Yoriichi and his entire verse with absolutely no difficulty. But on this channel, I have a series where I go through matchups through a different lens, where the strength, speed, and durability are all made equal. So we can find out who's the better pound-for-pound fighter if these two are to actually be on equal footing. Now, that's what I intend to be answering today. If you enjoyed this video or want to see more like it, make sure to like, subscribe. I will be using both Yoriichi and Hashirama at their respective peaks when they were alive, so no old man Yoriichi and no Edo Hashirama. Comment below who you think wins, and disclaimer, I am sick, at least sick while recording this, so hopefully I'm better by the time this comes out, but you know, if I sound different, that's why. Yeah, let's just go on with it. Hashirama Senju grew up basically on the battlefield. Even as a child, he was forced into war with his enemies. With this, he is naturally skilled with swords, along with the scroll of seals, which I'll get onto later. He's also an expert in hand-to-hand combat due to this as well, being very acrobatic, and being able to fight and beat the likes of Madara Uchiha, who in his own right is a fighting genius. As a shinobi, Hashirama should have chakra manipulation and statistics amplification, due to being able to enhance his physical stats with chakra, and can even give himself bursts of speed with it as well, by focusing chakra to his feet. Not only can he make himself faster, but he can also scale surfaces and walls as well, along with walking on water. Hashirama in specific is very skilled in medical ninjutsu, which surpasses that of Tsunade's, who is capable of healing herself from being impaled, which is further helped by the fact that his very cells can allow people to regenerate, you know, just by taking in his cells, which can be proved very useful in a fight, although it is a little bit up in the air if his cells even apply to himself. I know it's a bit weird. Even the basic jutsus that weak ninja can learn are very useful in a fight. For example, the substitution jutsu allows the user to instantly replace themselves with a nearby object, such as, say, a tree log or a clone at the exact moment they were, you know, attacked, creating an optical illusion that the user is hit, confusing the opponent and giving them an opportunity to attack. The clone technique allows Hashirama to create wooden clones of himself, and also be able to merge with his surroundings. The transformation technique can allow the shinobi to transform themselves into other people, animals, plants, or even inanimate objects. And the temporary paralysis technique allows the user to temporarily paralyze their opponent from a mid to close range. This is in all the abilities Hashirama has as well, having self-sustenance, extrasensory perception, longevity, and in fear-inducing and explosive aura. He also knows elemental jutsus, granting him limited access to earth, water, fire, electricity, and air manipulation too. But of course, he's most well known for his wood-release jutsus, however, which can even suppress the power and chakra of Biju, and can even absorb said chakra from Biju. He also has sleep inducement via the advent of World of Flowering Trees, and perception manipulation via the Art of Divine Darkness. He has summoning, force field creation, non-physical interaction, and if you absorb his cells, the side effects can include you turning mad, and can even transmutate your own body. He also has resistances to mind manipulation and body puppetry as well. Hashirama also has access to a power-up called Sage Mode, which amplifies his physical stats and senses, along with granting him a few abilities such as limited petrification and transmutation, as those who absorb excess amounts from him will begin to experience those effects, or turn to stone or from a frog. He also has further absorption, being able to absorb energy from his surroundings, sealing, and willpower manipulation via the Sage Art of Six Gates, via the Sage Art Gates of the Great God. This technique can seal the movements of its target and can match its power and size. Additionally, the seal head can also lock the opponent's will to oppose the seal. And yet, there's even more notable techniques. Here is the point in the video where I was going to list all the different wood techniques that Hashirama knows, but not only would I butcher the pronunciations of all of them, but I am a lazy bastard. So they're all on screen right now. All these techniques are either ways of just attacking physically, or have just been covered in the ability section of this video, so it doesn't really matter too much. It's also worth to note that Hashirama's wood release can also create large structures of dragons or a dude with 1,000 arms. Hashirama's stamina is also pretty big too, having chakra comparable to that of Biju, who have insane amounts of levels of chakra reserves. He's also a battling expert, despite acting kind of silly at times. He also doesn't have much in the way of weaknesses either, with the only notable one being that Sage Mode only lasts a few few minutes and will exhaust him. Even as a child, Yoriichi was a complete prodigy, showing maturity far beyond his age and using super advanced fighting techniques that took many extremely skilled fighters decades to learn, despite having never fought before. He was even able to beat a fighter who was a master with the sword at just 7 years old, picking up a sword for the first time. In order to find someone who was capable of sparring with him, a robot was made with 7 arms, all with blades, just so there could be a sparring partner comparable to him, on some General Grievous type energy as well. His blades are made of metals which absorb light from the sun, made perfectly to decapitate regenerating demons to dispel their powers. He also wears the standard Demon Slayer corpse uniform, which protects him from slashing attacks from weaker demons, along with fire, water, and cold temperatures. He also has a pretty mental stamina, never getting tired after spending an entire day running through the mountains, and should also be vastly superior to Tanjiro, who endured extremely taxing training for 7 days non-stop, with no food, sleep, and only a tiny amount of water. He should also be vastly superior to the Hashira, who put themselves through training which brings them to the verge of death, and then go on to fight lower moons for nearly 5 hours in the Infinity Castle, on top of fighting the upper moons. Needless to say, Yoriichi is extremely skilled and is able to fight for a long time without getting tired. Abilities wise, and Yoriichi does have a fair amount to go over, such as being skilled in acrobatics and being a swordsman. Obviously, he also has accelerated development, body control, and minor regeneration, being able to stop hemorrhages within his body. He also has an overwhelming aura and battle spirit, causing his opponents to fear him, making the air around him heavier, and he can even cause internal bleeding and external lacerations as well. Much like Hashirama, his basic abilities grant him statistics amplification, such as total concentration breathing, being able to increase the user's power and match that of demons, and the Demon Slayer mark drastically boosts his speed and power. He also has extrasensory perception, being able to sense others and their malicious intent, being able to determine how strong a person is as well. His sword has sunlight absorption, and here comes the controversial part, perception manipulation, being able to create elemental effects with total concentration breathing, which aren't real. Now, this is a highly debated topic, and I am probably going to cover this in a video myself, and I'm not necessarily saying that this is my take on it. I'm just going over this for the, to be safe, and also because whether or not the breathing effects are real, it's not really going to affect the argument much here at all. So, maybe I'll go through it in a different video. Besides that, he has shockwave generation and instinctive reaction. He can also make his sword bright red on command, which grants him heat manipulation and regeneration nullification, being able to inflict wounds that burn on a cellular level, which even managed to burn Muzan for hundreds of years, despite Muzan being able to regenerate. Yoriichi also has a technique called See-Through World, also known as Transparent Worlds, which grants him perception amplification, information analysis, enhanced height, analytical prediction, and precognition. You see, Transparent World allows the user to have their perception of time slowed down in order to see their opponent's muscles, blood flow, and movements in slower motion, which also allows them to very easily predict their next moves. He should also have resistance to poisons, biological manipulation, fear manipulation, and paralysis inducement, due to being superior to Hashira, who can resist the aura of higher and lower ranked demons. He should also have resistance to enhanced senses, analytical prediction, and perception via the selfless state, which completely seals features, which makes them basically impossible to detect without physically seeing them, so you can't exactly sense them. He also might just have resistance to fate as well, just because, as the users of the Demon Slayer mark make them die at age 25, yet Yoriichi was able to live on till his 80s. Maybe he's just built different. Yoriichi's also the creator and complete master of the original form of total concentration breathing, that being sun breathing. Sun breathing has 13 known forms which can use to counter and attack the enemy. This is also, I'm going to put them all up on the screen because I can't be bothered reading them all out. But one that should be noted is the fake rainbow, which creates an illusionary afterimage which can even affect the most perceptive opponents, which can allow Yoriichi to have an opening to hit him. So how do they compare? Well, firstly, to state the obvious, in terms of pure hand-to-hand fighting, Hashirama is far superior to Yoriichi. Meanwhile, in terms of swordsmanship, Yoriichi is far above Hashirama. This much should be clear. Overall, this is actually a very interesting debate, since Hashirama does have a lot more abilities than Yoriichi, but Yoriichi has a counter to a lot of what Hashirama has, or they would just outright not affect them. Firstly, his Demon Slayer Corpse uniform can easily resist the fire attacks that Hashirama can output. Secondly, chakra absorption doesn't really matter with Yoriichi much, seeing that he doesn't use any chakra attacks. Thirdly, Yoriichi has no way of absorbing Hashirama's cells, so all the abilities that come with that would not take effect. Fourthly, Hashirama being able to regenerate due to his cells would be irrelevant, seeing that Yoriichi's attacks can hurt him on a cellular level. Even if Hashirama can heal from the blows that Yoriichi outputs, he would still feel burning pain from Yoriichi's blows. Fifthly, and I don't even know if that's a word, Yoriichi can counter Hashirama's clones via Transparent World, being able to very easily see which ones are clones and which one is the real one. Sixthly, Hashirama's speed enhancement is negated also by Transparent World, being able to see his movements in slower motion. And seventhly, Yoriichi may be able to resist Hashirama's fear-inducing aura. You could argue that Transparent World would also allow to see Hashirama when he's shapeshifted, but that is a little bit more up in the air. With this, you can actually give Yoriichi a fair shot at killing Hashirama in 1 or 2 hits with his sword. However, Hashirama also does have a lot more going for him as well. Firstly, he's a lot more versatile than Yoriichi. Its temporary paralysis technique and the advent of world flowering trees can also very easily immobilize Yoriichi, with Yoriichi not being able to do very much about it. His wood summons are also giant, which can also put a distance between him and Yoriichi, and, well, it's also something that Yoriichi's never had to fight before as well. Not saying he wouldn't be able to fight it, but, you know, he's not really experienced in the field of fighting people who are giants. Hashirama's healing/regeneration is also much more potent than Yoriichi's, and is also just much more reliable too. And he can also just seal Yoriichi away. So with this, who's more likely to win? Well, it should be noted that while Yoriichi can very easily counter Hashirama's clones, there's still going to be a real threat to Yoriichi, as they're not like they're not real. They can still harm Yoriichi, meanwhile, so he's definitely going to be able to tell which ones are clones, but he's still going to have to be able to fight them, otherwise they'll just hurt him. Which could very easily distract Yoriichi and give Hashirama a chance to hit him off guard. Granted, his instinctive reaction and precognition would make this extremely hard to do so, but it is still a possibility. Not to mention that Hashirama's barriers and large wood summons can also further protect himself from Yoriichi. You can also further just paralyze Yoriichi in place, put him to sleep or seal him away, and then just freely kill Yoriichi without a fight. So, while Yoriichi is very capable of killing Hashirama, Hashirama has ways of avoiding Yoriichi's win conditions. Meanwhile, Yoriichi only really has one thing that can maybe help him avoid Hashirama's attacks, which isn't super reliable by comparison to Hashirama's, so overall I'd say that Hashirama is more likely to win. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, comment below your thoughts on this, and I'll see you all next time.